Okay, so my talk is titled Using XR Technology to Enhance Museum Exhibits and Historical Sites. And there's two projects that I want to talk about today. One of them is called Prehistoric Florida. It's an AR museum project that we're doing with the Museum of Discovery and Science in downtown Fort Lauderdale. This came out of a program that we have with the museum called Aptitude, where every summer for the last 5 years or so, we've had about 35 high school students from Broward County come in and learn how to do apps and augmented reality apps. And the latest projects are them creating augmented reality posters that have different kinds of media popping out, video, as well as 3D models, and virtual docents that talk to you and actually have lip sync and everything on some kind of STEM topic. So it's a very STEAM oriented STEM plus art program. And we have them for 3 weeks, and we take them through learning a 3D program and Unity game engine. And also they do research on different topics every year. This year was climate change. And we take their research and visualize it and apply it in a research poster. This has also led to the Prehistoric Florida project by our MFA students. So we have an MFA in Media Technology and Entertainment, and some of our students are particularly interested in museum work. And so we are developing exhibits for the museum that we can then use as demos for the students to teach them how they're done. And the Prehistoric Florida one is one we're working on right now. Another project that is using similar technology is a Mitchelville AR Historical Tour project. This is any National Endowment of the Humanities and Epic Games mega grant funded project where we have done the design phase and we're currently in the prototyping phase. We'll be going into the production phase in the next grant cycle if we get that grant. So this is actually both a historical and heritage site. It is the first African-American town in the US during the Civil War in the southeast in South Carolina. It's on Hilton Head Island. And that area was taken by the Union Army very early in the Civil War and became the headquarters for the Southern Campaign. And they spread out from Hilton Head Island. And so a lot of the enslaved Africans that were around that area were housed temporarily. They were called contraband back then because this is even before the Emancipation Proclamation. But they established this town that they built the houses and governed it and lived there for a period into the Reconstruction era. So this a part of that area is actually called Mitchelville Freedom Park today, and it's a Gullah Geechee heritage site. Gullah Geechee is the name of the descendants of the enslaved Africans all up and down along the coastal areas that were on the plantations, mostly in the rice fields, some cotton and rice. So the Gullah Geechee people still live throughout that area. There's festivals and stuff at Mitchelville Freedom Park, and we're working with the Preservation Society and with the park. There's also a Reconstruction era national park there in Beaufort County. So a lot of things happen around that area, and we're creating stories that can be told in the park using different technology. And the main reason I'm bringing out both of those two projects, which are very different, is that one is a STEM-based project with a STEM content, and the other one is a humanities-based project with historical content and heritage content. But we're approaching them in the same way as far as the production of the media that we want, that we're designing for these different sites. And so we're developing an AI 3D virtual production extended reality pipeline for these two sites that will allow us to create content that we can distribute to a lot of different platforms. So the AI is something that we're doing for the character designs, which I'll talk a little bit more about later in the presentation. We're using other software like Reallusion Headshot, which also uses AI to generate models that are rigged, and then bringing those into our Rococo motion production, our virtual production studio, to have student actors play the different parts. We are collaborating with different parts of the university, both history and theater arts, as we move along in these projects. And then there's a game engine scene that we're building to these multiple extended reality platforms. And the reason we're doing that is for accessibility, working with both of these, both the museum and the historical site. It's important for us to get the stories and the experiences out beyond just the site itself, because not that many people actually travel to Mitchellville on Hilton Head Island, but lots of people have headsets, and even more people are online. So we're trying to create content that we can then put out to these different platforms. So augmented reality with a phone on site in the park or in the museum. We're working with mixed reality and Magic Leap headsets for actually mapping the 3D area and placing things behind objects in the space. And Magic Leap is just 2 miles away from their headquarters, is 2 miles away from our campus. So we have an educational partnership with them. And then virtual reality, so that we're creating these with 360 imagery, as well as modeling different structures. There's really nothing in the park anymore, except there's a few kiosks and stuff like that, but there's no buildings or structures. So we're creating those from old photography. And then we're using the 360 imagery in the backgrounds to make you feel like you're in the park, and rendering that to 360 video that we can then have on a website. So our play design approach for these projects is to create an edutainment experience that delivers either humanities or STEM content. It doesn't really matter, because it's narrative based. It has some kind of gamified elements, and it's also performative. The framework we're using is SGR Play Framework, or Sugar Play Framework, which I've been teaching in my game studies courses and also in my game design courses. It takes 3 types of play: screenplay, gameplay, and role play, and focuses on trying to balance them in the experience. And then we're also using more popular frameworks like the MDA framework and the concept of flow in developing the different scripts and the performative elements and game elements. So this is some of the imagery from the museum project, and we took 360 video there, and are creating a prehistoric Florida with a Smilodon or a saber-toothed tiger, and we have some examples of that. I'll play a little bit of this now. I don't know if the sound is coming through, because I may not have shared for sound. Can you guys hear that?
No sound.
So this is one of the prototypes we're developing for VR that shows you inside of the museum, and the virtual docent narrates the experience. And you have different menus and things where you can get information. But the idea is to show what the experience inside of the museum would be for the augmented reality, but in a VR headset, and then render that out also to 360 video. And we've done tests for all of that. It's on the website, and it's on some of the demos and the links in the slides, which I won't have time to go through. But I did do a recorded talk that you can find on the EVA website as well. So the Mitchelville examples here, we created what Mitchelville looked like back in 1862 from the photography of Henry Moore, who visited the site when it was first being built. You can see the picture in the lower left there. And then we've also modeling out, we're doing stories from both Mitchelville and around the area. We've created an experience where you're like the Henry Moore's assistant, and you take this photograph inside of the inside of Mitchelville. And we've also we're modeling out Harriet Tubman, who was there at that time, and who was a scout and a nurse. She actually led troops up the Combahee River to free over 800 enslaved Africans in the plantations up that entire river area that's just north of Mitchelville. And we're using a tour guide for each of the scenes, and the tour guide for her scene is Frederick Douglass, which we modeled as well. And because he talked a lot about Harriet Tubman, and we actually created the script from his writings, adapted them from his writings. The latest work that we're doing is to redo the models as more realistic versions using AI tools. So we're using generative adversarial network-based AI tools to design full color, realistic, almost deep fake versions of these historical figures. In this case, Frederick Douglass. You can see the actual pictures of him in the lower part of this image, and the AI generated images in the top. And we're working with the software Artbreeder for this. It's an online software, and generative adversarial network, or GANs, have been developed since 2014 by Ian Goodfellow. They have been used for creating very realistic imagery. You can see the development from 2014 to 2018 when NVIDIA came out with its StyleGAN, and then in 2019 StyleGAN 2, which is even more realistic. And these are entirely generated from a database of real images. And we're using actually one called the Artbreeder online tool, and that's using DeepMind's BigGAN and PickBreeder. And so it uses neuroevolutionary breeding as well as generative adversarial networks. And you can then go in and take different, after it reads, we upload images of these historical characters, and it reads their features and analyzes them and pulls out the features from the database. And the BigGAN database is really large. And then it gives you features that you can tweak. And you really need an artist to go in there and work with these tools, because they don't come out perfect from the beginning. You actually have to work with it quite a bit to get them to come out looking like the figure or character that you want it to look like. So there's various gene tools that you can adjust, and there's crossbreeding, and we're for the museum project, one of our MFA students input quite a few women in historical women in science to create sort of a hybrid image. He created several hybrid images, and we picked one of those to make into our virtual docent. And here you can see Harriet Tubman, the real Harriet Tubman on the bottom, and the virtual virtual tour guide Harriet Tubman on the top. These designs can be rotated in 3 dimensions a little bit, and they can then be made into 3D. So this is the Artbreeder tree for this Harriet Tubman image. And you can see that it went through a lot of generations and working with it to get the final image that you know has some resemblance to the real Harriet Tubman and is full color and realistic. And we're taking these and then running them through the Reallusion character software headshot plugin, which also uses AI to generate a model from these, a rigged model that we can then animate in our virtual production system. These tools are working pretty well, but we are looking to collaborate with CS researchers who are interested in GANs and this type of work to create more user-friendly and specific tools that for taking historical characters from black and white photographs to full color realistic characters. So if there's anyone out there who wants to collaborate with us, please contact me at cmaraffi@fau.edu, and you can see my website for more examples of work at tophermaraffi.com. I'm not sure what my time is. I think maybe
we're just on time, Christopher. So
okay, great.
Wrap up. That'd be fine. Thank you. I don't see any questions on chat, and we have run up to time, so maybe we'll go on to the next presentation. If you've got any